In Module 4.1, we discussed compensation sharing disclosure and transparency. In Module 4.2, we explored how fiduciary alignment and role-based disclosure shape compensation compliance. Now we move to the place where everything becomes real, because disclosure is not protected by what you say. It is protected by what you can prove. Welcome to Article 8, Documents. If Chapter 3 was about what the public sees, and Chapter 4 began with how money flows, this module focuses on what regulators review when a complaint is filed. And in 2025, documentation is overwhelmingly electronic. Expanded Acceptance of Electronic Documents Arizona has long recognized electronic signatures and electronic records under both state law and federal e-sign principles. The modernization of Article 8 reflects the reality that nearly every transaction today is paperless. Contracts are signed electronically. Disclosures are acknowledged digitally. Compensation agreements are stored in cloud platforms. Communication occurs via email and messaging apps. Electronic documentation is fully valid. But here is the critical point. Electronic documentation is also fully discoverable. Timestamps exist. IP addresses may be logged. Opening times are tracked. Acknowledgement receipts are stored. This modernization did not simply make transactions easier. It made them traceable. Imagine this scenario. A buyer files a complaint claiming they were never informed of a compensation arrangement. You respond, "I explained it to them verbally." The department will not evaluate your memory. It will evaluate your documentation. Is there a signed disclosure? Is the date clear? Was it executed before key decisions were made? Electronic systems make this analysis precise. Clarity reduces ambiguity, and digital records reduce interpretation. Clarified conveyance and public report acknowledgement standards. Article 8 also reinforces expectations around required conveyance documents and public report acknowledgements where applicable. In subdivisions or regulated developments, acknowledgement of the public report is not optional. If the acknowledgement is digital, it must still be properly executed. Let's consider a practical example. You email a public report to a buyer, but never obtain signed acknowledgement. The buyer later claims they were unaware of certain development restrictions. Without acknowledgement, your defense weakens. Electronic delivery alone is not proof of understanding. Acknowledgement is proof. This connects directly back to Module 4.2. Disclosure is not complete without documentation. Electronic compensation disclosure documentation. Now let's bring compensation back into the picture. Under R428-701, compensation sharing disclosures must be made. Article 8 determines how those disclosures are documented and retained. Imagine you disclose a builder incentive via text message. Is that documented in the transaction file? Is it acknowledged? Can you produce it in an investigation? Electronic convenience should not replace formal documentation. The safest practice is to incorporate compensation disclosures into signed documents stored within your brokerage transaction system. Because when a complaint arises 2 years later, your memory will not be enough. Your file will speak for you. Record retention and broker supervision. Under Article 11 Supervision Standards, brokers must maintain transaction records for defined retention periods. Electronic systems make storage easier, but ease of storage does not equal ease of compliance. Consider this scenario. An agent uses personal email to communicate compensation adjustments and never uploads those communications into the brokerage file. Years later, a dispute arises. The brokerage file is incomplete. The broker may face supervision scrutiny. The agent may face documentation scrutiny. Modern compliance requires integration. If it affects the transaction, it belongs in the transaction file. Period. A real-world documentation breakdown. Let's walk through a common complaint path. A buyer alleges they were pressured to accept certain terms because the agent had an undisclosed incentive. The department requests agency agreement, compensation disclosure, incentive documentation, email communications, timestamps, broker file records, if the file shows clear disclosure, signed acknowledgement, timely execution, consistent communication. The complaint may close quickly. If the file shows vague language, late signature, missing acknowledgement, undocumented conversations, the investigation deepens. Documentation is not defensive, it is protective. The risk shift in digital transactions. Chapter 1 introduced the concept of risk shifting from technical interpretation to practical accountability. Article 8 embodies that shift. Digital systems eliminate confusion about timing. Electronic signatures eliminate disputes about execution. Cloud storage eliminates excuses about misplaced files. That means enforcement is more factual than ever. Did it happen? When did it happen? Is there proof? The answer is either in the system or it is not. A simple documentation rule. If disclosure affects money, agency, occupancy, or material terms, document it formally. If it is not in the file, assume it did not happen. That mindset alone will protect you in the modern regulatory environment. How this leads into Section 4.4. In the next module, we will examine the risk of improper compensation handling, including undisclosed referral splits, side agreements, and unauthorized payment routing. Now that you understand how disclosure must be documented, we will examine what happens when compensation flows improperly. Because transparency without proper routing is still non-compliance,